What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, I'm going to be trying out the new Vigoroth for the first time, and that is with Rock Slide, the new charge move added to Vigoroth's move pool this season. Rock Slide gives it a lot of fantastic coverage across a lot of meta Pokemon that we see, such as Talonflame, Skarmory, maybe Froslass, Alolan Ninetales. It's a beautiful charge move to have. Bulldoze was okay, but it's unfortunately one of the worst ground type moves out there. And with counter as a fast move, you kind of already cover the steals like that coverage gives. So we're going to be pairing it with a Talonflame Lantern Core. You guys can pair it with a lot of different things. Vigoroth as a safe swap is really solid, especially with all the nerfs to Medicham. And even if a Medicham does come in, you can hit him with Body Slam and kind of soften them up. But overall, this team performed really well, and Vigoroth definitely a key to it. So let me know what you guys think, and let's go and get right into it. All right, getting into the first battle, we have Talonflame versus Quagsire on the lead. So Core Breakers, Mud Boys right here. We're going to decide to stay in, as Brave Bird can be a huge threat, and the opponent is throwing right away. And I'm going to go ahead and let it go. Aqua Tail, we can survive, but they have Mud Bomb, and this made me think for a second. Granted, I don't have my ELO rating yet, so I'm still climbing up through the ranks. So a lot of new players could be here. I decided to shield, thinking maybe they mind gamed me with Mud Bomb and then go for an Aqua Tail. But anyways, this player may not have a second move unlocked, and they're just utilizing Quagsire here in that scenario. So we're going to go ahead and go for another Flame Charge, and then look to take it down. Obviously, this would be a bit different if it did have Aqua Tail. Or Stone Edge, right? Then I'd have to look to play it that way, but my hope would be to take this into the ones, go for Brave Bird, swap into Vigoroth. That would be my play, but it changed it up a bit here, so we're going to go ahead and go for Brave Bird now, as the Lantern comes in, a good counter here to Talonflame, but Brave Bird does so much damage. We're going to go ahead and swap out now into Vigoroth to get ahead on energy, keeping our Talonflame alive for a sacrificial swap, and then we're going to go ahead and farm down here with the Vigoroth. Now, they're not swapping out, which tells me they might actually be weak in the back. But let's see. It's going to be a Mew. So actually to be fair to this opponent, right, like I said, we're still climbing through the ranks here. I'm not facing off like I'm climbing for Legend like I was last season. We're going to be facing a lot of different players, so this is good learning opportunities. What my opponent should have done there, I'm on the lead firstly with Quagsire, fake a Stone Edge, right? Even if you don't have Mud Bomb, maybe they're single moved, right? I think it's 50,000 Stardust to unlock Quagsire's second move. Fake a Stone Edge, right? That means build up more energy than Mud Bomb. And then secondly, don't let me farm down that Lantern right there with Vigoroth. Come in with the Mew right away to get ahead on energy. Otherwise, you're going to be having an uphill battle, as I do catch the Psyshock right there. And then we're going to look to double Surf to close this game out with Lantern. Now, I am fearing a potential Grass Knot, but I think it's just going to be another Psyshock here. The Mew's moveset, it could be anything, right? It honestly could. We're just going to go ahead and go for double Surf to guarantee the win right here. And that is going to be a good game. So good learning lessons right there. For those of you watching, I know some of you watching are Legend and maybe even Leaderboard players or Expert or Veteran. And others of you, this is like maybe your first season, second season, right? This is good to learn, so good game. All right, next battle, we have Jellicent on the lead. So this can be a tough one. What I'm going to look to do is swap into Vigoroth, and we do see a Vigoroth come in. This is what I call a cardinal sin. Never swap a Vigoroth into a Vigoroth, like right away. You need to do one of two things. You need to either have its energy be thrown and then you swap in, or you need to chunk its health and then swap in. So if the Jellicent went for a Surf and then swapped in, because look, I take Switch with one shield. That's a cardinal sin. Never swap a Vigoroth into a Vigoroth. So this video is definitely a good learning lesson. But we get to utilize Vigoroth in a very strong way, as we will see a Charge-a-Bug come in. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the Rock Slide right here to do super effective damage, which is beautiful. And then we should be able to get to a Body Slam in time as well. So this is going to be forcing the final shield, or the first shield from my opponent. which gives me some play here with Talonflame, as we're going to go ahead and go for Flame Charge, but they swapped out into Jellicent, so that's a good catch by them. Could have read that they were probably going to do that and thrown a Brave Bird, but now I got to swap into Lantern, but unfortunately, they are going to hit me with the Surf. Now, I'm going to let this go. I think we can survive, and I think one Incinerate fast move from Talonflame should be enough to take out Charjabug, so I shouldn't need too much health right there. But Lantern here is going to need health in order to survive the charge moves coming from Jellicent. So we're going to go ahead and load up on energy. I'm going to look to go for a Surf, hoping they decide to shield, because obviously Thunderbolt does KO. But they called my bluff, and they go for a no shield. So that's a big play on them. I'm going to go ahead and go for another Surf right here to get the final shield from my opponent, which we do. And now, because they call the bluff, I got to call a bluff. I got to call that this is a Surf and not a Shadow Ball. So I'm going to go ahead and let it go. And it was a Surf, so that is beautiful. They counter swap into Charjabug. So I'm going to go ahead and shield, stopping the charge move. Counter swap into my Talonflame to go for the 1 Incinerate, which is exactly what we needed. Jellicent comes in and goes for the Surf right away. I think that's a slight misplay. Maybe they weren't aware of the energy that I had on Talonflame, but now I get to Water Gun down the Jellicent, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next battle. Talonflame versus Toxicroak. Today I actually had quite a few good leads, so this is obviously a great one. We will see a swap out into Bastiodon. Learning lesson video. Bastiodon is not a safe swap. I'm sorry, it's a great anchor or a great lead. And the reason why is because you want to have alignment with Bastiodon. Bastiodon is one of those Pokemon where it is dominant versus what it beats, and garbage versus, that was a weird way to say garbage, garbage versus what it doesn't. So now what we're going to see is the ramifications of that choice. I have 3 Body Slams ready to go for this Toxicroak, and it does 50% of their HP. And yes, I will be able to get all 3 off, which means I get 2 shields from my opponent, or I get the KO and 1 shield. So this is looking like a tough battle. Now, Pokemon that are Steel-type tanks, kind of like Bastion, that you can safe swap with, are going to be stuff like Registeel and Galarian Stunfisk and Steelix back in the day. It only lived 1 season, unfortunately. Now, a Galvantula is going to be coming in right here, which is totally fine, as we can Incinerate down. It is very weak. I can speak today. Very weak to my fast move, so good battle right there. All right, moving to the next one, Serperior. Very good lead once again. Talonflame just getting them all day today. We do see a swap out into Swampert, so we're going to go ahead and bring in the Vigoroth. Now, Swampert, see, like Bastiodon is not a good safe swap. Swampert could be, but I don't know. I think the meta hasn't solidified just yet, and there aren't as many grass-type Pokemon out there. So seeing Swampert safe swaps is very risky. Especially if you played last season and you guys know how many Serperior were out there. Serperior was on, like, probably, I would say, 30%, 33%, repeating, of course, of teams. Yes, I am a World of Warcraft player. There's no way people would safe swap a Swampert last season, but they are this season. I think that's because of the buff to both Skarmory and Talonflame. So I will give up shields here in order to maintain switch. Obviously, I want to keep Talonflame on Serperior, and we will see a Talonflame in the back, which is perfect because we should be able to get to this Rock Slide in time, which is obviously going to one-shot if the opponent decides to no shield, so we will get a shield right there. Obviously, we come in with Talonflame. This is a good game, right? We got hard switch advantage, which is why I went for that with Vigoroth, and something that you can do. This is why I said Vigoroth with Rock Slide is so dominant in this season, or going to be dominant, because of what it can do on the back end. If you guys saw my top meta predictions for this season, Vigoroth was one of those, and that's because of exactly what we saw right there. I had to give up shields in order to maintain switch, but I got it on the back end. Had Serperior come in, right, I just throw multiple Body Slams and they can't farm me down. So we're going to go ahead and go for Flame Charge here, and then we're going to look to go for a Brave Bird to close this one out. So that is going to be a good game to my opponent, but Vigoroth obviously huge player on this team today, and Talonflame. Boom! See ya! Alright, moving into the next one, we have Talonflame versus Medicham. So this is a pretty good lead right here. Now they're deciding to stay in, which is now making me question what could they have in the back. Medicham, somewhat of a neutral matchup here against Talonflame. Obviously needs to watch out for Brave Bird, but they will go for Ice Punch, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and go for Flame Charge. If they are in fact weak in the back and they're staying in because they're weak, I'm going to look to leverage that. They decided to shield, so we're going to go ahead and stay in this, obviously, and go for Flame Charges. And with the Medicham on the lead, Vigoroth is very free in the end game. There's not a lot of people who will run a fighter, an ABA line, a fighter, maybe like a Bastion and another fighter. Someone might, but most don't. So this is probably the hardest counter to Vigoroth on the field right now, so we will just take it. They decide to swap out into Azumarill, so I'm going to bank the charge move and come in with Lantern. And this is a very good position for us to be in, as hopefully they don't have Play Rough, but if they do, that'll be fine. It's not too much damage. Lantern can easily tank it. We will go for a Thunderbolt in order to do super effective damage, as it can do quite a bit. Now, it's not going to be enough to KO. This is the thick bunny of the Great League. As you can see, it's Best Buddy XL. So I decided to shield right here. I feel like I miscounted. Maybe I didn't. Maybe that was. Yeah, I don't know. I decided to shield. A slight misplay then if I miscounted right there. But we're going to go ahead and go for a Surf. And this should be enough to KO the Azumarill. We maintain a positive switch advantage. Medicham was out of energy, so we should be able to, or not out of energy. It didn't look to have Psychic, but it had Dynamic Punch, so that does KO us. So it is the new season Medicham. We're going to come in with Vigoroth and get ahead on energy, as a Skarmory will swap in. And this is why Rock Slide is perfect. Vigoroth would not be doing well in this matchup. But now with Rock Slide, it definitely can. So we're going to go ahead and throw that. We're going to counter swap into Talonflame and go for Flame Charge right away, as this does do super effective damage. They won't be able to farm me down, so they have to throw. And then, yeah, this is going to be a good game. Vigoroth is going to be taking this one with counter against the Medicham, ironically, because it is low enough. So yeah, that is going to be a good battle. It makes a lot of sense why they stayed in with Medicham, right? They had a Skarmory in the back. So good battle. All right, moving into the next one. Froslass. Very good lead once again. I told you guys. Some sets I have lots of bad leads. Some sets I have lots of good leads. This is one of the good lead ones. Now, Umbreon's a fantastic safe swap actually in the meta. Even if counter users come in, like a sorry. Bit sick. The kids are sick, which is why you guys haven't seen videos recently. But Umbreon, pretty good safe swap in the meta. Like we were talking about earlier, Pokemon like Bastion are not a great safe swap, but Umbreon definitely is. So what we're going to look to do here is try to dance a fine line and get rid of this Umbreon before they can get to another foul play. It's going to be very, very close, but I also want to have like no health left so they don't get a lot of energy. So we do take out the Umbreon, which is perfect. They come in with a Lantern. So we're going to go ahead and come in with the Mirror right here and maintain positive switch advantage. So remember, there's still that Froslass in the back. I'm anticipating them swapping at some point, and I will easily come in with Talonflame to lock down the Froslass. So Thunderbolt does land, that's fine. They do decide to swap, so I'm going to go ahead and bail out into Talonflame and now look to farm down. I do go for Flame Charge right there. This was a bit quick. I feel like it might be triple Axle, but I'm going to go ahead and shield anyways. It was triple Axle. So because of that, unfortunately, I got to undercharge this. If you guys don't know what undercharge is, it means don't press the bubbles and it does less damage. As you guys can see, if I fully charge that, it would have KO'd. But it allows me to get an extra fast move in, which is huge because now I can go for Brave Birds in order to get shields here from Lantern. Now, I'm already boosted, so I will give up a shield. And there's a lot of energy here on Talonflame to go a lot of places. And Flame Charge, even if they don't shield, right, this is going to chunk. It's going to do a lot of damage. So they decide to shield that one. I'm going to go ahead and go for another one. I should be going for Brave Bird right here. But honestly, I think the double boosted Flame Charge would be enough. And then I'm going to counter swap into my Lantern as we get the final shield and go for Thunderbolt. So that's going to be a good game. Very well played. Even if they let that go, I think we water gun down. Boom. Down it goes. Or maybe double surf, right? We had a lot of energy. All right. Moving into the next one. Talonflame versus Medicham. Once again, very positive lead here. We're going to go ahead and look to stay in, see what they decide to do. They're loading up quite a bit of energy. I'm going to go ahead and go for a Flame Charge right away. Could get away with a Brave Bird right here, but ultimately I think Flame Charge is the play. As Medichams, if they decide to stay in, they don't have their core broken in some way. Now, I'm going to decide to no shield, and it was a power-up punch, which is huge for us. They counter-swap into Altaria, so I'm going to go ahead and throw a Brave Bird now and get myself a shield. Could have just gone for Flame Charge for the shield bait, but ultimately Brave Bird guarantee that shield. We're going to counter-swap into Vigoroth now, which does have access to Rock Slide, which is very nice, and we can easily let one Sky Attack go through, as it's not going to be enough to KO us. And my hope is that I can get to 2 Rock Slides in time, but it's not looking like it. And this is a good learning lesson. This is the first time I've had my Vigoroth with Rock Slide versus an Altaria. We do land it, and I don't get to another Body Slam, unfortunately. Now, did I need Switch Advantage there in order to win this game? Probably not. It all depends on what they have in the back. But we're going to come in with Lantern here to soak the charge move, as it's most likely going to be a blind Sky Attack throw, which is going to be resisted. And Medicham being so low, we should be able to Water Gun down, as we were able to do a lot of damage. They swap into Whimsicott, actually, so we go ahead and counter swap into Talonflame, and the Medicham, again, is so low that we can safely shield right here. It is just going to be another power-up punch, but they don't have enough energy, and we will be able to farm down. Whimsicott in the back. Very spicy grass fairy back here, but I think it is a charmer. So we're going to go ahead and go for Flame Charge. We do get the final shield, and then we can go for one more Flame Charge right here. Barely able to hang on with 1 HP and a Dream. So a beautiful Community Day IVs right there saved me. Boom, down it goes, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. We still had, that was a charmer, so we still had energy on Lantern and a shield. All right, next battle, Walrein on the lead. So Icicle Spear will hurt. We haven't seen this Pokemon in a while. It used to be hyper meta back in the day, if you guys played GBL in 2022. But Icicle Spear here still does a decent amount of damage, but we can easily one-shot with Brave Bird. So we're going to look to do that, as I can safely counter-swap if they decide to shield. But Brave Bird, boom! Down goes Walrein. In comes a Talonflame from an opponent, so I'm going to go ahead and look to go for another Brave Bird to get a shield, right? And then have a positive switch advantage with Lantern aligned to Talonflame. But I think my opponent left the game, or they're lagging, because the charge attack is not going through. We come in with Lantern, and I think they are lagging. I think they might have DC'd right there, but they didn't. They're still here, as a Shift Tree comes in right away. So this would have been a good game either way, right? If they shield that Brave Bird, I still have Lantern aligned to Talonflame, and I have Vigoroth aligned to Shift Tree. So shout out to my opponent for running some pretty cool Pokemon, that being Walrein and Shift Tree. They used to be meta back in the day. Shift Tree back in the early days, 2020 of GBL, and Walrein in 2022, maybe 2021, 2022. Yeah, 21, 22. But ultimately, a good battle right there. All right, and that was the final one. Again, this team, I had a lot of good leads. Usually if I get lead losses, I showcase those. So I showed you that today, but it was a lot of learning stuff. A lot of a mix of battlers that I was fighting in the lower ranks. I'm still in the teens, so still working my way up, as I'm a bit behind this season. Usually always am. Start of seasons, I don't know, my kids decide to get sick the first week of GBL, usually every single time, or move house or something. But overall, I think this team was fun. I think Vigoroth is a strong Pokemon for this meta. Talonflame and Lantern, obviously very meta as well, so you guys can give it a try. If you guys are having trouble maybe against Swamperts and Quagsires and Whiscaches, I wasn't seeing it, you could maybe swap out Lantern for like something like Serperior to better help out against that, as it's a strict like a solid core as well, but Lantern's a good core Pokemon as well. It just depends on really what you're seeing. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.